Assembly Member Dismore.
Do you think that estate regeneration is about providing penthouses for oligarchs?
No, but of course not.
Well, that's very interesting you say that, because you signed off the West Hendon Regeneration Scheme. I wrote you about it.
Which one?
The West Hendon Scheme. You said you read my letter about it, but you obviously have a short attention span.
No, I couldn't hear what you said, old man.
Yeah,
You've got to speak up.
Do you realise that...
You've got to stop slurring
when you
your words.
signed it off, Councillor Tom Davey, your colleague, your Conservative colleague, who's Barnet Council's Conservative Cabinet Member for Housing, told the Barnet Planning Committee he was happy about these homes being bought up by Russian oligarchs and Gulf oil sheikhs, whilst at the same time there are no more additional affordable homes on this estate. And when the council cut 238 affordable homes from Beaufort Park housing development, Councillor Davies said again, quote, "I would prefer the homes to be sold on the private market because you get people in who would be paying a higher price and rely less on public services.
Well,
my ideal Barnet household is one which pays council tax but doesn't use the services." Now, it seems to me, Mr Mayor, that you are in favour, politically, of this social engineering. It's the sort of thing that Dame Shelley Porter got up to in the 1980s, in terms of deporting the homeless out of London, being mean and nasty to the homeless. That was her policy. This is doing nothing. The schemes that you have approved are doing nothing to solve the housing crisis in Barnet.
Nonsense. What we are doing is enabling schemes to go ahead that otherwise not go ahead. If you look at the Olympic Village, which we were talking about yesterday in Hassel, the Olympic Village has got 50% affordable homes on it. I'm absolutely categorical in my insistence with developers that they must have on-site affordable housing wherever.
So what are you doing about the cut in affordable housing?
As I said earlier to
Darren, why did you sign off
you should come into our planning meetings
for oligarchs and oil sheikhs? That is their policy. That is your policy. You signed it off.
Am I hearing some xenophobia from the Labour Party? Do they not like people?
You signed it off. You signed it off.
Do they not like? Is that right? Do I detect that they turn up their noses at international investors? They don't want it. They don't like people
Can we let
abroad.
Assembly Member Dismore complete his question? Then you can answer it. Assembly Member Dismore.
Well, I don't think I'm going to get a sensible answer to that one. Let me try another one on the Mayor.
Oh, what was his question? Hang on, he says he's completed his question. What was his question?
Do you support restrictions on increases in rents and service charges for shared ownership schemes?
Sorry, you have to say it again. I can't understand a word you said.
Well, wash your ears out. Do you support restrictions on increases in rents and service charges in shared ownership schemes?
Well, I'm certainly in favour of making sure that we have a system of rentals that doesn't allow landlords to jack up the rents unnecessarily, and we've got an accredited landlord scheme. But I don't believe that from here in City Hall we can dictate every detail of the tenancies or of shared ownership schemes. I don't see how that is going to work.
You said I was asked by Beaufort Park, back to Beaufort Park again, where you agreed to reject reduction in these affordable homes. I was asked by Beaufort Park resident Caroline Mandelson to ask you that question, because in the last 5 years that she's lived there, her service charges have gone up by over 100%, her rent by 50%, and her case is all too typical of the shared ownership schemes there and elsewhere in Barnet. She can't afford these increases, which have pushed her into mortgage and council tax arrears, to the extent that the council sent in bailiffs for a council tax and took possession of her watch. She's asked me to ask you that question. She says this. Well, let me tell you what she says before you interrupt.
All right.
She says, "I was sold a dream which has turned into a nightmare. I would never have committed to shared affordable housing, which has brought me to financial despair, because there's no control on these landlords jacking up the rents and service charges, and you don't want to do anything about it."
Okay, well,
so what can you say to her? If you don't want to do anything about her service charges, you don't want to do anything about her rent levels, what can you tell her? How can you reassure her that you can help her?
If you'll just calm down and stop sort of ranting, what I will certainly do is look at her case. I will make sure that we analyse very sincerely the problem that she faces. I will see if there's anything in my statutory powers that I can do. I'm not remotely certain that there is anything. but I will just remind you and remind everybody that actually, so far, our part-by-part rent schemes have helped about 50,000 people to have a share of their property, which they would otherwise not have.
And to answer your deranged
initial attack, to answer your deranged initial attack on international investment and your xenophobic, denigration of oligarchs and sheikhs and
that
whatever.
Was your Conservative councillor colleague who said that.
If that is really the view of the Labour Party, then heaven help us.
It's the view of the Conservative Party.
But what I will say is I don't think London should be reserved for such characters, welcome though they are, but their investment does help to drive the creation of property that would otherwise not exist. And that is the fact. That is what we want to encourage. If you look at the situation at the moment, about 6% of London sales are going to overseas investors, overseas buyers. The proportion actually is not higher now than it was in 1990. So there is a lot of mythologizing, there's a lot of anxiety that I think is unnecessary. These investments are very, very valuable in getting stuff going and getting developments going in our city. And I deprecate the kind of language that you use. And I'm surprised to hear it from a Labour Party that is supposed to be embracing a multicultural, multinational destiny for London.
It was your Conservative colleague's quote I gave you.
Thank you. Can I just warn all members and the Mayor, if you constantly keep speaking over each other, it becomes totally incomprehensible for anyone watching here or outside, let alone for the poor person who's given the job of trying to produce a transcript of this meeting. So let's not speak over each other.
Well,
Assembly Member Arbour.
Stop him wittering on.
You choose to waste your time, Mr. Mayor.